Welcome to Cricket World TV. It's time for an Ashes hotspot with me, John Pennington, and Rob Johnson. Hello again, Rob.
Hi, John.
And I've got to be honest, I thought we'll do a hotspot day one, day two of the Edgbaston Test because I didn't really think there would be an awful lot to talk about in terms of the fact that the weather forecast was so poor. I thought, well, they might have a few sessions of play. But as it is, Rob, we've had the most extraordinary Test match. Australia are 23 runs ahead. England need to take 3 wickets and then knock off the runs for a 2-1 series. But just, if you can, sort of reflect on what we've seen over the last couple of days.
Yes, I think you're right. I mean, it has been an extraordinary game, really, and I think it sort of just perhaps signifies the changing of Test cricket. I mean, Test cricket moves so quickly nowadays. You know, and obviously we're well into the game here, just at the end of the second day. So I think it's indicative of sort of batting maybe getting a bit more aggressive, perhaps the old-fashioned art of batting out some time of the game is sort of maybe just drifting out of Test cricket. But it's been a fantastic game for England. Some good cricket played, and for both sides really. But yeah, a very surprising position at the end of day two.
I think you're absolutely spot on the way that the game is changing, that teams are. If you think about yesterday, we only had 2 sessions and a little bit, but already England were level with Australia's score and had really moved things along. I mean, going into this Test match, Australia was sort of talking about, well, we must have the momentum from Lords. It's got to suit us, the gap between the Tests. But that's really sort of been turned on its head, hasn't it? It's almost as if England have just picked up from where they left off, maybe at their better points in Cardiff, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's been a theme running through England's Test cricket in the last few series, actually. Obviously, in the New Zealand series, they won at Lords and then lost heavily at Headingley. And in the West Indies, they won at Grenada and then lost in Barbados quite heavily. So it seems to be at the moment, England win one, lose one, win one. And so it's very, very surprising. But I think momentum does go out of the game because I think the modern player really, especially on the batting front, they just go out and they express themselves. And I think what was pleasing from England's point of view will be the fact that against Mitchell Johnson, okay, they had a bit of a wobble this morning, but they played him a lot better than they did at Lords. So yeah, momentum's interesting at the moment, and certainly this England team is perhaps looking for a bit of consistency. What I wouldn't have expected was the inconsistent showing we've seen from Australia. I would have expected them to be a bit more consistent than they have been.
That little wobble you talk about this morning, Rob, was that Australia's one chance maybe to get back into the game with a fantastic spell from Mitchell Johnson, but the way I suppose that England then got the way out of Moeen Ali and Stuart Broad, was that really the one slim chance they had this morning to get back into the game, do you think?
Yes, I think so, and the fact that after Johnson got the 2 wickets, Joe Root continued to play positively and scored. I think he put on another 30 runs very quickly. Then when he went and Buttler went, I think that was another opportunity for Australia. But the partnership between Broad and Ali was probably the most significant, I think, of the game so far. Stuart Broad is just coming into a bit more batting form after a torrid probably year with the bat. And I think that was the key moment. If Australia had got one of them quickly, they could have skittled England. But you know, their partnership and Ali getting another half century, I think that was the key point. And Australia might look back on that as an opportunity missed, I think.
Now, cricket for me is possibly unique in the fact that you can go out one day, lose by 400 runs, be bowled out for 50, and come out a few days later and score 300-400, such is the nature of the game. But I'm struggling to remember an Ashes turnaround like this when a team has got absolutely smashed by 300-400 runs and then come out and delivered such a strong performance. Can you think of a situation where that's happened before, Rob?
Definitely not. I mean, it's unprecedented, I think, in Ashes cricket. And I think if you look back at the last 2 Ashes series, England won 3-0 at home, and 2013 it was. Again, they sort of won the first Test match and then took the series quite comfortably. A few months later, it went to Australia, and once Australia had got on the front foot, you couldn't see a way back for England. Indeed, they obviously lost 5-0. So this really has reversed the trend of recent Ashes series, where a team wins, gets on top, and then sort of dominates the rest of the series. So this has been more of a seesaw type series. So I've got absolutely no idea what's going to happen at Trent Bridge.
Well, we'll come on to that maybe in our next hotspot, Rob. But everything going well for England. You talked a little bit there about Joe Root, about Mo and Ali. How good has it been to see Stephen Finn both back in the side after being, unselectable as they called him, but also taking wickets and really giving Australia some serious problems?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I was actually in Australia for the last Ashes series when Ashley Giles uttered that famous phrase now that he was unselectable. And I remember watching him in the nets at the MCG, and he was absolutely distraught, a very downcast figure, sort of moping around, and you could tell that something wasn't quite right. And for him to come back and in the way that he has been fantastic. And I think you saw a glimpse of what Stephen Finn can really offer England, which is pace and bounce, wicket-taking ability. And sometimes England's attack maybe just lacks that a little bit of an enforcer type role, and Finn can offer that. And I think it's been great for him, but it's also been a good development for England's long-term future, I think, in Test cricket.
And in the immediate short term, of course, James Anderson, he obviously left the field quite late on today, so that's possibly the only real concern that England are having going into tomorrow.
Yes, I think for this Test match, it probably won't be an issue. I think they'll have enough to take those 3 wickets. But looking forward to Trent Bridge next week. I mean, if it is a side injury, those do take quite a long time to heal. So it will be interesting from an England perspective to see them potentially play a Test match without James Anderson, because I don't think his injury record's brilliant. He doesn't often miss Test matches, so it'll be a big blow for England, because Trent Bridge will probably swing around, and after his display in this Test match, it will be a big loss, and again that might have a contributing factor to maybe an upturn for Australia. But obviously we'll have to wait and see over the next few days how his injury develops.
And this seems like a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Are there any positives that Australia can take out of what's happened at Edgbaston so far?
A good question. I don't think there are really. Perhaps the form of Peter Neville in this last innings is perhaps the only slight thing that they'll look back on and with a little bit of positivity about. There was a bit of conjecture whether he should have been selected, because Haddin missed the last Test match through personal reasons, not because he was dropped. So I think it will do Neville some good, and he's showing a lot of fight, and that he can tough it out in Test match cricket. But Australia, even after Lords, still have a lot of issues that they have to address. The middle order is looking extremely shaky, with Clark, Voges and Mitchell Marsh looking really all at sea in this Test match. They haven't particularly bowled well, apart from maybe a couple of good spells from Johnson. So clutching at straws a bit for Australia, but I think they've got some good cricketers, and it would be silly to write them off. But I think it's going to again take a big turnaround for them to get something out of the next Test match.
I think you're absolutely spot on, Rob, there with everything you said there about the slim positives that Australia can take and what it's going to take for them to get back into the series. Just going to finish really by looking ahead to tomorrow. We expect it to be the final day. I've just seen some odds come in. England 200 to 1 on to win the game. But the bookmakers reckon that Australia will take it into the middle session of the day. I think England were going to wrap it up reasonably quickly and knock off the runs. But how quickly do you think they're going to wrap it up?
Yes, I can't see England taking too much time to wrap that up in the morning. Obviously, they bowled. Potential reason they didn't finish it off tonight was that it was a very long session. I think it was over 3 hours. So that's potential reason with one bowler down. So I expect Finn and Broad to open up tomorrow and to take those wickets, and to England to knock it off and have a nice couple of days off before preparing for the next Test.
I'm sure they'll enjoy those 2 days very much. Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you once again. Thank you very much for your time and insight as ever.
Thanks, John.
And thank you very much for watching us here on Cricket World TV.